That moment when you finally stop responding to his texts or calls, the silence that follows can be deafening. Have you ever wondered what's actually going through his mind when you go quiet? When you withdraw your attention, it creates a powerful psychological impact that most women don't fully understand. That space between you becomes filled with thoughts that could either bring him closer or push him away forever. Here are the 5 thoughts that race through a man's mind when you stop talking to him, and the simple actions you can take to make sure your silence sends the right message. 1. Did I do something wrong? Is she mad at me? When your texts suddenly stop, his first thought is almost always self-doubt. Men might project confidence, but beneath that exterior, they're constantly evaluating where they stand with you. The moment communication breaks down, their minds immediately start replaying recent interactions, searching for where they might have messed up. This happens because men are naturally solution-oriented. If there's a problem, you're not talking, there must be a cause, something he did. As one man shared on Reddit, when she stopped responding, I went through every conversation we'd had in the last week, convinced I'd said something offensive without realizing it. This reaction is particularly strong in men who already struggle with communication. According to research, men's brains are simply wired differently when it comes to verbal tasks. Many men aren't as naturally talkative as women, which means when you go silent, they feel doubly confused because they're already operating at a communication disadvantage. If you're withdrawing because you're upset, be direct but calm about it. A message like, "I need some space to process how I feel about what happened earlier," gives him context without drama. This prevents his mind from spiraling into worst-case scenarios while still maintaining your boundary. But here's where it gets interesting. While he's wondering what he did wrong, another thought quickly follows. 2. She must be interested in someone else. This might surprise you, but when you stop talking to a man, his mind often jumps straight to competition. He immediately assumes another man has captured your attention. It's not just insecurity, it's actually hardwired into male psychology. I automatically just think, wait a minute, what's keeping this woman from talking to me? It's gotta be she's got attention and eyes for another man, explains a male relationship coach in one video. This thought creates an urgency that can dramatically shift his behavior. This reaction stems from men's evolutionary instinct to compete for partners. When you withdraw attention, it triggers a primal fear of being replaced. Even the most confident men aren't immune to this thought process. One man confessed, "When my girlfriend went quiet for just 3 days, I was convinced she'd met someone at work. It turned out she was just swamped with a project deadline." This fear of replacement can actually work in your favor if he's been taking you for granted. When you stop being constantly available, it awakens his competitive drive and makes him value your attention more. Focus on yourself genuinely during this period of silence. Invest in your hobbies, friends, and personal growth. This isn't about making him jealous through social media posts, which feels manipulative, but about truly reconnecting with your independent self. When he does reconnect, your authentic happiness will be far more attractive than any mind game. Speaking of mind games, that leads us to his 3rd thought. 3. She's playing games to get my attention. Men today are more aware of relationship dynamics than ever before. When you stop communicating, many immediately recognize it as a potential strategy. Is she playing games? Becomes a nagging question in his mind. This thought creates a complex reaction. Part of him feels manipulated, which can trigger resistance. Yet another part recognizes that your withdrawal signals value. You're not desperately chasing him. As one relationship expert explains, guys get relationship advice too. He might start to wonder if you are playing games. When you don't text him, he may recognize it as a way of getting his attention. The problem with this thought is that it can create a power struggle. If he believes you're just using silence tactically, he might counter with his own game of waiting even longer to respond. One man shared, "When I felt like she was just playing hard to get, I decided to beat her at her own game. We both ended up miserable and confused." If you're creating space because you genuinely need it, be authentic about that. The next time you communicate, focus on expressing your real feelings rather than using silence as a weapon. Say something like, "I needed some time to myself to get clarity on what I want from our connection." Authenticity breaks the cycle of game playing and builds real trust. But sometimes, his thoughts go deeper than games. Sometimes it's about something much more vulnerable. 4. I need to protect myself emotionally. Beneath the confident exterior, many men project lies a surprising vulnerability. When you stop talking to him, self-preservation instincts kick in. This is especially true for sensitive men who've been hurt in previous relationships. Sensitive men may find it hard to open up sometimes. It's sometimes because that's the way they protect their emotions and stay feeling upbeat. Many men have been burned when they opened up to a woman or started communicating too much. They're scared of inviting a problem, so they keep their mouths shut. Your silence can trigger his emotional defenses, causing him to withdraw even further rather than pursue you. This is particularly common with men who struggle to process rejection. Instead of reaching out, he builds walls, convincing himself he doesn't care as much as he actually does. One man admitted, "When she stopped responding to my messages, I immediately shut down my feelings. It was easier to tell myself I guess it wasn't meant to be than to face the pain of being rejected. It was only weeks later I realized how much I actually cared." Pay attention to his emotional type before using silence. With particularly sensitive men, clearly communicate that your distance isn't rejection of him as a person. A message like, "I value our connection, but I need some personal space right now," can prevent his emotional shutdown while still giving you the distance you need. And this brings us to perhaps the most powerful thought of all. 5. I need to act fast or I'll lose her forever. When a man truly values you, your silence creates a sense of urgency that can transform his behavior. Suddenly, the comfortable security he felt in your relationship vanishes, replaced by the terrifying thought that you might be gone for good. He will panic that you're gone forever, explains one relationship coach. This panic can be transformative, especially if he's been complacent. The realization that there's this small window of "I gotta make sure I act fast" can jolt him out of taking you for granted. This fear of permanent loss is often what finally motivates a man to make significant changes. One woman shared, "After 3 days of not contacting my boyfriend, who had been emotionally unavailable for months, he showed up at my door with flowers and a heartfelt apology. He said the thought of losing me forever made him realize how badly he'd been treating our relationship." However, this reaction only occurs when he genuinely values the relationship. If he doesn't reach out despite your silence, it might be a painful but valuable revelation about where you truly stand with him. Before using silence, be clear about what you want to achieve. If you're hoping for changed behavior, make sure you've clearly communicated what needs to change first. Silence works best as a reinforcement of boundaries you've already expressed, not as a cryptic message he needs to decode. When silence speaks volumes, these 5 thoughts reveal something profound about human connection. The space between words can sometimes communicate more powerfully than the words themselves. Your silence gives him room to reflect on your value in his life, something he might have been taking for granted when communication flowed easily. But silence is a double-edged sword. Use it thoughtfully, with intention and awareness of its impact. Used wisely, it can reset unhealthy patterns and create space for growth. Used carelessly, it can damage trust and deepen disconnection. Remember that healthy relationships ultimately thrive on open communication, not strategic silence. The goal isn't to manipulate his thoughts through absence, but to create a relationship where both partners feel secure enough to express their needs directly. The next time you find yourself wanting to stop talking to him, ask yourself, am I creating this silence from a place of self-respect and healthy boundaries, or from a place of manipulation and game playing? Your answer to this question makes all the difference. When your silence comes from self-love rather than strategy, it transforms from a manipulation tactic into a powerful act of self-care. And paradoxically, this authentic kind of distance is exactly what often brings a good man closer, with a newfound appreciation for the remarkable woman you are. What thoughts have you noticed when you've stopped talking to someone? Share your experiences in the comments below, and let's learn from each other's relationship journeys. Subscribe for more of these videos.